Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, are you looking to expand and grow your business? Are you looking for that edge, that next step up, that paradigm shift? Well, one of the best ways to get you there is through a mentor or a coach. And today's sponsor, Trevor McGregor, he is the man. He is going to get you to be laser focused, to get you onto that next level. And I know from experience dealing with Trevor, he is a master coach, peak performance coach, well over 10,000 coaching hours through clients all over the world. And he helps you achieve better health, more wealth and freedom and contribution than you ever thought possible. Have that coach that holds your feet to the fire. Go on to Trevor's website, coachwithtrevor.com. Again, it's coachwithtrevor.com. And there you can get a free strategy session with Trevor. And you can decide if he's the right fit for you and you're the right fit for him. Again, it's coachwithtrevor.com. You will not be disappointed. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and I'm excited to have another great guest with me, Michael Sparks. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Todd. Thanks for having me on today.
Fantastic. I appreciate you joining me. So Michael's a 27-year veteran of the Army and National Guard, and he's still active in the Tennessee National Guard. He is a serial entrepreneur, and his passion is for helping others to become entrepreneurs as well. And Michael currently owns 3 businesses, and I'll let him describe more on what those are, but he's got a synthetic oil distribution company. He also, second business is sharing relationship marketing tool that helps businesses generate more referrals and increase customer retention and build loyalty. And in 2013, he was introduced to the financial concept called becoming your own banker. And I will kind of let Michael go in more detail of his companies and kind of what he's doing and what that means to become your own banker. So why don't you take that off from here and just let us know kind of what you're doing a little bit more.
Oh, thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. And, I don't want to be too ADHD on this thing today, but as most entrepreneurs are, we have our hands in several pots. And you really have to be not expert in everything, but you have to be knowledgeable and good at many things. And, I know a lot of people that know all the sports, football games and who played who, what, when, where. But I focus on business, and I focus on helping others excel in business. And I started back in 2000, and I never really thought I would be an entrepreneur. When I grew up in a little small town in Ohio, everybody that I knew worked in steel mills and was blue collar. I grew up, my first job was a paper route, and I think you've had that on your call before as well. And I didn't really consider that entrepreneurial, but it really is entrepreneurial, because you had to go out there and interact with people and get customers and everything. And so I went through my life up until about my 30s thinking I was going to be working at a job 9 to 5 or 40 hours a week for 40 years to live on 40% of my income. And I just thought there had to be a better way. And so about 1997, I started getting interested in personal finance and getting out of debt. That whole, hey, there's got to be a better way. Let me figure out how to get out of debt, and then learning about how to preserve wealth and keep wealth. And I stumbled upon actually my first business in 2000 when I was looking for oil for my vehicle. I was also unemployed at the time, and I saw a need. I lived in El Paso, Texas, and all the jobs out there in El Paso, I was not bilingual at all. And I said, well, I need something to do, and I want something I can take with me that I can go anywhere. I don't want to have to start a new job every time I moved. And my now ex-wife, she was active duty military, and I had gotten out of active duty. And so I wanted something I could take with me, and I wasn't I wasn't, stuck down somewhere. And every time I moved, I had to find a new job. And I just didn't want that. And I found this oil company. And I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people listening, like, how did you get into oil or whatever? But it's one of those home-based business things, and network marketing, they call it. I had no clue what network marketing was before I even joined that. I just knew that it was a great product and I could go out and sell it to people. And within about a year and a half, I had about 25 places in El Paso carrying my products on the shelf. And I remember finally one that I went on the part of town where like all the signs are in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, and somebody sent me down there to go talk to somebody. I couldn't find the place. I stopped in and I talked to this oil change place, and I didn't think I would have a chance at all to sign these people up. Well, I signed them up, and I'm trying to speak Spanish, which I don't speak Spanish, but I'm trying to help them understand how to get started with my products. And they actually said yes. And I made them a promise, hey, if you don't sell it, I'll buy it back from you, thinking that, this is a good faith effort. And like 2 weeks later, they sold out everything. And I thought, well, you got to call me, and come, I'll bring you some more. And as time went on, these guys were doing like about 3 or 4 drums a month. And I knew that this was something that I could keep going. That's how I really got started as an entrepreneur and in business and everything. And so, I just learned over the years that you got to treat it like a business. And most people that I run into, whether it's in, entrepreneurship or whatever, they're passionate about their product, they're passionate about their business idea, but they also have to realize they've got to treat it like a business. They got to go out every day, and go out and kill something, drag it home. That's what you got to do. And so we do that on a consistent basis. And I know a lot of people too that they get started, they're fired up, and the first person says no, they run back home and they quit. Or the first thing that they do doesn't work out, or the product doesn't ship on time, or something happens, it blows up, and they lose their confidence, and they don't have the ability to persevere through the hard times, and be able to push through and then see the rewards of success. And I know you've probably had it in your real estate. You've probably had some things that didn't work out as you planned. And I thought for sure, when I got started, I thought for sure, man, I'll be making $100,000 in a year. This is going to be awesome. And it took a little longer than that. And I might not be the smartest or the sharpest knife in the drawer. It took me about 7 or 8 years before I was financially independent, which means I had enough residual income coming in to cover my expenses so that I could go on to do other things.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's funny that you say that, because I was just having a conversation the other day with somebody, and we were talking about that. And when you first start a business, it seems like so many people are just thinking about the money. I'm going to make $100,000, or I'm going to make whatever. And after you've been in it, and if you're truly in the growing phase and truly, going to be prosperous in that business, you realize after a while that it's not about how much money you make, it's how much, how many people you can affect and that kind of thing. So what are the tools you can tap into and use in order to grow your business, not just thinking about, the dollar in front of it.
Yeah.
So that's the oil business. Now, what are the other legs that you got going on?
Well, the oil business it allowed me to grow and like I said, become financially independent. Well, I'm always, like you say, tools. You got to find tools, and one of the tools, my mentor, and I wanted to talk about that real quick. Mentorship. A lot of people think, well, how do I find a mentor? Or what is a mentor? You don't just go ask somebody to be a mentor. It's basically you create a relationship with somebody that you admire or look towards, whether it's in your business, whether it's in other types of businesses, and you provide that person value, and you do that over time. Like my mentor in the oil business, I was so far down the line, he wouldn't have had time, but every time we had an event together, I was there helping out, setting up chairs. What can I do this and that. Anytime he had like a conference call, I would be sure to be on it, and I would I would provide value for this conference call. And that over the years allowed me inside that little circle of mentorship. So I didn't say, hey, will you be my mentor? No, I didn't do that. I provided value to him, and then he passed on along things that he learned and had success with. So I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's one thing about mentorship that I think is a tool that all entrepreneurs should seek out, whether it's in their circle of influence or anybody in business in general. And there's so many things today, whether it's, find on LinkedIn or, other retired, there's a thing, I think it's called SCORE. It's a retired entrepreneurs. Get involved with those types of groups, because that's going to be your backbone. That's going to keep you going. Like I said before, that person wants to quit right away. They're going to help push you through all that and tell you that, hey, it happens to all of us. We're not going to hit, 1,000% like baseball. Baseball players, the good ones hit 300%. The ones that aren't so good hit less than 300%, but they still make, $4 million a year. So come on, about 300 and you can make $4 million a year. But the other business I started, so my mentor is got off track, but my mentor used to send handwritten greeting cards, and come to find out, he had his 90-year-old mother who lived in a nursing home write them out. He would tell her what to write, say, I want you to write this, and here's the names to write it out to, and send them out. And I was like, well, number one, I don't have a 90-year-old mother. Number two, I got an F in handwriting, so my handwriting is terrible. I got to find a tool. And I, got on Google and said, I need to find something to be able to send out notes to people. And I found this company, it's called Send Out Cards. And I started using it as a tool to thank my customers and stay in touch with people. And, people send emails, they send text, but when you get something you could hold in your hand, a real appreciation marketing that you really shows your appreciation to them, they're gonna hold on to that, and they're gonna remember you above the 500 emails that they got, or all the Facebook happy birthdays. And when they get a real birthday card, they're gonna remember that. And then I never planned to do that as a business, but my wife that I'd met in 2008, I used this marketing tool to woo her, and she really liked it. And she's like, wow, how do you do that? And I showed it to her, and she decided that that's a business she wanted to get into. I never thought we were going to get married. We were just dating. And so I showed her how to become a distributor in this company. And then lo and behold, we got married. So now we do it together. We pretty much do everything together. We work all three of our businesses together. And it's a really good synergy, because she has strengths and I have strengths, and so it's a great thing. And that's a whole nother thing we could talk about, is doing business or being in business with your family or your spouse. Everything. It's a great thing, and when you do it right. But that's my second business.
When you do it right, that was the key, right?
Yeah, when you do it right, and you gotta, it takes work. It's not. A lot of people say, "How do you do it?" And we just have to know when it's time to leave each other alone, and then when it's time to do the thing that we do together. So
right, and you have to be growing with each other, and making sure that you're running as business partners, and so you got to treat like that, family or not.
Exactly. Well, and I think it was your podcast that you were talking about being in partnership with people, planning for that day when you're, going to get a divorce. And so, we are in partnership, my wife and I. We don't ever plan to get divorced, but you got to treat it just like a partnership, whether it's marriage or business or anything. And you got to, understand your lane and understand how things work and all that stuff. And so I thought about that the other day when I was listening to one of your shows, and it was like, it's just like being married, being in a partnership. But so 3 businesses. And then this 2008, I keep all these podcasts that 2008 seems to be pivotal for many people that are entrepreneurs in today's age. They figured out around that time frame that, hey, things aren't what they said they were going to be. This working a job for 40 years, is not what it's all about. And I think a lot of people said, I can do it better myself, and became entrepreneurs. And that's where I came about with this financial services deal. And I actually didn't start till 2013, but 2008 is when I started the journey of understanding how money works and how to learn how to keep it. All these people money is flowing through them. They're earning an income, or they're getting money from their investments, whether it's real estate or business, but it's going through there and then going out of the control. And if they can keep more control over that, they can then build wealth over the long term. And it's been a study since 2008 to 2013. And then I started the actual, hey, how do I implement this? So it took me several years of understanding it first. So I hope callers today or listeners today don't take, 4 to 6 years to just understand something before they implement it. So
that's an easy thing to do, though. I before I shifted my business from what I was doing to, I was doing a lot of flips and stuff like that. And before I finally shifted to buying apartment buildings and syndicating, it took me years, and I knew what I wanted to do. That was always the plan. And I studied markets, and I did all that kind of stuff. But it didn't take me, I guess, 4 to 5 years, but it took me 3 probably, before I finally made that true shift into, this is what I'm doing. I'm buying larger apartment buildings and making that happen. So it, not that that's a terrible thing. I think you have to be prepared, but again, like you said, sometimes you can be over prepared as well. I wish I would have made the shift in a year or so. And I'm sure you probably look back and say, yeah, I probably was ready, maybe a year or so after I first started studying.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and as your time goes by, you run into the right thing that feels right at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually by accident I got into the financial services thing. I was a huge Ron Paul supporter in the 2008. So I'm a libertarian, free market kind of guy. And so I read all his books of understanding how the Federal Reserve works and why our money's not based off of gold. I didn't even know that before. I didn't know what a Federal Reserve note was compared to an actual dollar. It's not a dollar; it's a Federal Reserve note because it's not backed by anything. But they say the full faith and credit of the government. But anyhow, so I had to learn all those things, and I happened to be on an elevator with an AMSOIL hat on at an event, and this guy said, AMSOIL, I thought I was going to sell him some oil, and it turned out he was in this financial services thing, and he started educating me, and this was in 2013, and it was just, how did that come together? I would have never known about it otherwise, so you just have to wait to those right trigger points, but you got to keep persevering, keep educating. And, some people can start in a year and be successful. And some people like me, I have to analyze things to death. That's what I do. So,
yeah. Well, and you do have to be ready. I mean, you can't just jump into it and think everything's going to work, especially if you're not that type of personality. Like you said, you got to analyze things and look at things. And so for you, just jumping into it probably would have been not very successful.
Yeah, exactly. And so this thing is becoming your own banker. If somebody would told me that this uses life insurance, because I was a big down here in Nashville, they have a guy named Dave Ramsey. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. The Total Money Makeover and all this stuff. And he's like, oh, he's like, this is terrible. And if they told me that, I would have ran the other way. But the term becoming your own banker, I got this book and I'm like, how come I've never heard about this before? And why isn't this out there? And it's like this biggest secret. I read it with an open mind. If I would have probably read it in 08 or 09, my mind wouldn't have been ready to absorb that information. But knowing everything I knew from 08 to 2013, I was ready.
Yep.
And I studied it. And then, once I latch on to something, I become obsessive about things. So I've got to learn everything there is about it. And I just like to it becomes almost like some obsession. So I became it. I learned about it. I started implementing it into our personal life. And I asked the person, so do you give referrals and how can I, get involved? And he said, well, you have to be licensed. I said, well, what did that take? And he says, well, you just go down and get your license. I was like, that doesn't sound very hard. I mean, it's a whole lot easier to get a life insurance license than it is to get a real estate and a license. And I know a lot of people that do that, but so I did that. And
that's not very hard either.
No, it's not really. People don't realize this. People go to school for 4 years and come out with a grade. Now that's hard. You got to do all the papers and everything. Not hard to get these licenses. And I then started implementing it and teaching it to others. And I've been involved with that industry since really middle of 2014, and I officially launched my financial services business in 2015. So it's only really been this is my third year of pushing it where I feel comfortable that I can, really talk in an expert type of manner with people about it.
So why don't you give us a little snapshot, 2-3 minute, elevator pitch. What exactly are you talking about with life insurance?
Okay, so what happens is it's all about control over your money, and many people are putting their money in places where they don't have control over it. Whether it's a 401k, IRA, it's the stock market. You put it in the stock market. Who has the control? The stockbrokers and the people that run the mutual funds and all that stuff. And where do you put your money that is safe, that is not going to go down in value? You have a very low chance of loss. And life insurance companies is where banks put their safe money. They call it tier one capital. And life insurance companies, they do conservative underwriting, which means they're not insuring everybody with cancer because they know they're going to have to pay out more than what it's worth. They got these people that are insuring AIGs that were insuring the things that went bankrupt. Life insurance companies don't do that. They're very conservative. So if you ever remember the movie, it's about that time of year. It's a Wonderful Life, and when he takes his life insurance policy to the bank and he uses it as collateral, well, that's what I teach people to do. They use their life insurance policy as collateral, and you, by contract law, you're the first person that has access to that money. Before the life insurance company can invest it somewhere else, they have to be able to give it to you. Yeah. It's called cash value, but it's also available as a loan. And say, well, why do I want to take loans against my own money? Because what it does is it allows your money to be in two places at one time. It's still in the life insurance policy protecting you and growing. And then you take a collateralized loan against that is able to be used for other things. So you could do the same thing with a 401k loan. You could also do the same thing with a HELOC on your house. Your equity in your house is still growing. You take your HELOC, you take that and you put that into another investment that's now paying you money back. The life insurance does the same thing, except it gives you a bonus, a tax-free death benefit as the bonus. And then the third thing is that the way life insurance is looked at in the IRS is another tax advantage, which means you put it in after tax like a Roth would be. So it goes in after tax money. It grows tax deferred. And then when you take a loan, obviously that's not a taxable event. And then when you eventually die, because we all are going to leave this, graduate, from this earth eventually, it's a known fact. It goes tax-free to your heirs. And if you compound that over years and years and years, this becomes a huge tax-free asset that you've paid tax on the seed once, and you get to, use that money over and over again, recycling it. And it works really good for anybody that's entrepreneur in business, real estate investors, because you actually have access to that capital at any time. You don't have to, for me to take a policy loan, it's just a one phone call, one piece of paper I send in. They don't ask me if I've got money to pay it back, what my payback terms are, all that stuff. They send me the money, and then it's up to me to figure out how to pay it back. And if my policy is old enough and big enough, eventually there'll be loans that never get paid back except when I die, and then the rest gets passed on as a tax-free inheritance to my family.
Is it, what's the name then? Is there a certain specific name for that type of life insurance?
There's a couple of names that are out there. There's it's called Becoming Your Own Banker, or the Infinite Banking Concept. That's the guy that started this back in the 1980s, and he has a really unique story in real estate. And we haven't probably hit that yet, but in the 1980s, early 1980s, he had $500,000 in loans, leveraged real estate in Alabama on forest tracts, and he was paying like 8 or 9% interest, which that's kind of the going rate now. But you tell people you 8 or 9% interest, they fall over. Well, interest rates went up to, like, the prime rate was 21%. Right. And so, and if you're not a prime borrower, it's 23%. And so he was about to go bankrupt, except he had all this life insurance, and he said, well, I can trade my 23% debt for 8% debt. So he did that and was able to scrape himself out of bankruptcy. He never did go bankruptcy, but he was like really close. And then he said, well, if I could have done this, how come I didn't intentionally do this? Why wouldn't I intentionally do this? And then he started doing the game plan of structuring the policies where most people that sell life insurance, I tell people I don't sell life insurance. I'm a life insurance agent, but I sell this infinite banking thing because we maximize the amount of cash that you can put in it and minimize the death benefit. So I don't really look at that. I look at, like, how much cash do you want to be able to have available to you to be used throughout your life? Let's maximize that, and then the death benefit is just a bonus.
Okay. Interesting. So is this like, I've got a whole life policy. Is it different than that? Or can that be used, or how does that work? I've got a whole life policy, just with a, national insurance company.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to look at it to see if it's structured properly. Now, a lot of people that sell, so in the industry, there's a lot of people that try to use words that are not always accurate. So there's these things that have been out, they're called universal life, but now they're called, they've added stuff, indexed universal life, and there's variable universal life. And they call that it's called a permanent policy, but it's not the same as whole life. And the whole life, and they're supposed to last your whole life, but whole life, the way it's structured, the payment that you make, a premium payment, it stays the same. Whereas with the universal, it can be up and down or whatever. And most agents nowadays, they're selling these indexed universal or IULs, EULs, VULs. Those things don't work well with what we do for the banking part of it. And then two, the companies that we use are especially, they're mutually owned. Okay. So what that means is that everybody that has a policy with the company is like the owner and is an owner of it. So when the company posts a dividend, the dividend comes back to the policy owner,
sure,
as opposed to a stock owned company, whereas the shareholder gets a dividend and then the policy owners just get, a little bit of interest. So we only use mutually owned companies, and then we set them up structured in the very beginning. That don't mean the one you have will or will not work. You'd have to look at it, but the ones that are structured for the most cash up front is the ones that work the best for the infinite banking. And there's other things that's been called, it's called the private reserve strategy, bank on yourself. That was Pam Yellen took this idea and wrote several big New York Times books, and she's on a bunch of radio stations. But bank on yourself is another term for it. And so then, you just have to know that there's different lingo going on, but there's specially designed ones that work better than others that don't.
So Michael, let's just say I or somebody listening has a whole life policy, and we want to find out if we can utilize it the way you're talking about. Would it be good to give someone like yourself a call? Is that kind of what you do? And can you take, my policy that's with somebody else? Can you take that if it's possible, if it's the right setup, whatever, can you take and shift that into kind of your system where you can help me, utilize what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm part of the infinite banking concept, and you can go into infinitebanking.org, but it's now called the Nelson Nash Institute. So the infinite banking concept, where I'm certified through them. So I've been to classes. It was like a 3-month long class that I took and to totally understand. And what they did is they help you understand economics, which is Austrian economics versus Keynesian economics. And Austrian economics is like free market economics. If anybody has ever heard of like Milton Friedman or Ludwig von Mises or, Ron Paul, he's Austrian economics. It's all based off of that. And so it marries that along with this concept of how to use the infinite banking concept as an agent, so how to set these things up properly. Anybody that has a life insurance license says, well, I read the book, I can set this up. I probably wouldn't advise people to do that. But yeah, call somebody that has actually been through that class, that understands the design of these. And depending on how long your policy has been in force, I wouldn't want to do something to be detrimental to your personal finance. So I'm going to look at the whole entire picture and say, yeah, this will work. Or, you're still in it, you haven't been in it long enough. Maybe we'd be able to take and do like a 1035 exchange and roll it into something that's more efficient over time. And so we would look not only at the short term of it, how it's working now, but how it's going to work over your life and really over multi-generations. If you read the book, Becoming Your Own Banker, he talks in there multi-generational, and like the name of my company is Dynasty Wealth Partners. And I came up with that because, how many people can name their great grandparents, all 8 of them, right? I can't even name one of them, and my grandparents, I can name 2 of those that were involved in my life. But I guarantee you the great grandchildren of John D. Rockefeller knows his name, right? Because they probably get a check every month, right? So they built up this dynasty, and they built it up where it's multi-generational. And I've always thought, why did I have to start over at 18, or we were all born with no clothes on our back and no money. But it's always nice if I would have had a little jump start ahead, and I want to provide that jump start for my grandchildren and I don't, not just my grandchildren, my great grandchildren. I want to think about that far ahead, because that's how wealth is created in this country. And, of course, most entrepreneurs are first generation, but then what they say, shirt sleeves are shirt sleeves in 3 generations. You got the first generation builds it up, they work hard and they become wealthy. Second generation spends it all, and by the 3rd generation, we're down back to shirt sleeves working hard. And the people that have figured it out, they keep it going over the multi-generation. So that's what really interests me as far as wealth building.
Yeah. Well, wealth building, and then you also need knowledge building for the generation below you.
And that is proven hard, very hard, because our kids are smarter than us, so they say they should leave now where they know everything, right? It is very hard. We've got some children, and we're constantly, why are you doing this? You don't have a regular job. Well, yeah, I don't have a regular job because I'm an entrepreneur, and that's how it should be. But they don't understand that. Well, you don't have a real job. I'm like, what?
Good. I'm glad I don't have a real job, and you're glad. I'm glad I don't have a real job.
Yeah. I did want to kind of circle back real quick about, we talk about the National Guard and the military, and how thankful I am to have been able to serve. But also nowadays, a lot of people take it for granted. And I know a lot of folks that are in the military, they appreciate the military. But thinking about back when I was 18, I had no leadership skills. And guess what? The military provided that. I had no discipline and determination and camaraderie. It builds all these things. So if I were going to talk to a younger person that, maybe not college material, because I wasn't college material, or if they are in college, but the military, National Guard, the active duty or whatever is great skill building that you can't really get anywhere else, I don't think, as far as that goes. And then to this day, the reason I stay, I've got 28 years. I could have retired like 8 years ago, but I stay because of the benefits for my family. And as being an entrepreneur, I do get a small, steady paycheck that comes, because I go once a month. But then the biggest thing is healthcare. I tell people it would cost me 30 grand a year to get out of the National Guard by the time I would have to go buy my own healthcare.
Yeah.
And, the little bit of money I get for my weekend duties. And, it's just hard to make that up somewhere else. And it's guaranteed. So I'm going to keep going. I keep showing up and they're going to keep paying me and it's all good. But I think if you're a young person, you don't have direction, finding a military is a great way to build some skills. And it's also good for networking, because the networks I've built, I still got people that I'm in touch with that I've known for 25, 30 years. Actually, the guy I bought my property with, I've got a 30-acre little farmette thing over here in Tennessee, and my neighbor is my old drinking buddy. He was about 10 years older than me, so I could get beer before I was 21, even though I was in the military. Go over his house, and he would we'd go hang out, drink beer, and now I bought property from him. So it's a small world when you look at the military community. So.
Well, and just speaking to that, I mean, yeah, I agree. It's a fantastic avenue for, especially not just for people that don't have direction. I mean, it's great for people that don't have direction, but I think there's such a huge push right now for college. And I think that's college is great for the right people, but it's not 100% necessary for everyone. Like we talked about earlier, I mean, it takes you, I can't remember, maybe 6 months to get your real estate license, takes you a few months to get an insurance license, takes you, if you want to be a financial advisor, it doesn't take you that long. And there's so many other like tech type things that you can do and all kinds of stuff. You don't need a full, you go into college for, a full 4 years, and going in the military for a couple of years, especially if you want to gain that leadership, that networking, that camaraderie, all that kind of stuff, is a fantastic avenue. And like you did, you stayed in it for 28 years, you said?
28, yep.
28 years. And now, I mean, you've got a lot of benefits because of that. And granted, it never paid you $100 grand a year likely, but it still is really solid. It's got good benefits. It's got, positive things. Plus you're doing a positive thing for the country as well. So
I agree. Yeah.
I like it. I think that's a fantastic advice especially for young people who are trying to figure out, what the heck what am I doing? Instead of going to college undecided, not knowing what you're doing, you could go to the military for a few years and figure it out there and
figure it out. Yeah.
So, well, let's shift gears. Let's talk about some mistakes you've made. What's the biggest mistake you've made, and how did you learn from it to make you better at what you're doing now?
Oh, some of the biggest mistakes. I tend to burn bridges, and I shouldn't. I've gotten better at that. When I was younger, I had they still call me wild card because they never know what's going to come out of my mouth. And hopefully I haven't said any bad words on this call. I try to really watch it. But anyhow,
I don't think so. We have an edit button too. So
okay, good. But I've burned bridges in the past with some people that I think now could have really been more positive in my life. But I was so quick to be judgmental, and those are kind of regrets. So I think if I would learn from that now, just some things you just got to keep your mouth shut on, and I've had trouble with that my whole life. And it's been better. My wife that we've been married for 8 years or 6 years now, she's really good about squeezing my hand and keep your mouth shut. Oh yeah, yes, dear. Thank you. I owe that to you but so that was it. Is the fact that I and I call it like I see it, and it's just sometimes it's not good for both parties concerned, and that's a regret.
Yeah, I think that's great. Have you read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and so there was a time there. I don't know that I burnt a ton of bridges, but I would say I a little bit did the same thing as you get. I got that hothead thing. It's like I'm successful and I know what I'm doing. Just leave me alone, or I don't want your opinion type of thing. It's like you've got so much to learn from so many different people, and to ever think like that is just, it's so ignorant to me.
Yeah.
But I love that book. I think it really puts it in perspective. I mean, even if you're right and they're wrong, you don't need to point your finger at them and tell them that, because that does no good to anybody. So I think that's that advice or what you said, and admitting that it's fantastic. So a lot of people can't admit it. They just go along life burning bridges their whole life. And
well, you sit back and you relax and you think back, and as we get older, we reflect on things, and you do have those. You look back and you say, "Man, I shouldn't have done that," and I feel bad for it. And all we can do is going forward is be better, and you have to work on those skills, and reading the books and all that stuff. I have people, and I listen to other podcasts, and there's some people that are in real, like, what's your favorite real estate book? And it's like, guy's a multi-million-dollar. I've never read a real estate book. Well, I think I have to read those books either to keep me motivated or to keep me learning something new every day. And I don't know if I would be successful without reading the books, whether it's the Think and Grow Rich, or Rich Dad Poor Dad, or Richest Man in Babylon. I just get on these and doing those things, because it really and you got to do it over and over. I know I listen to Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Radio, and he said, you got to listen to these more than one time, because what you get the first time, you got to the second time you're not the same person. So you read Think and Grow Rich, you're not the same person after you read it. So you read it again, you look at it different eyes, So
yeah, I've read books that, I just reread, I can't remember what book it was. I should remember it. I read a book recently that I read about 6-7 years ago. And 6-7 years ago, I read it, and it was just like, whatever, I didn't get much out of it. And I read it now again, and I'm like, holy crap, this thing is powerful. I got so much more out of it because I was ready for it. And sometimes you read a book and you're just not ready for it. You put it down, and that's fine. Put it down and then go back to it, a year or two later. But I agree with what Kiyosaki says. You read it a couple times because you get so much more out of it that second time. So I like the idea of consuming maybe a little less books, but consuming that book 2 or 3 times, because there's just so much good content in those.
And another thing to think about when you do get into the success and the motivation and the entrepreneurial information is how you consume. Because I know I listen to a lot of stuff on podcasts, or when I'm driving, or like I'm listening to Darren Hardy's Compound Effect right now in my car. And so I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to bad music and talk radio that makes me depressed and, want to do evil things. So I'm always consuming. My radio's never on. I was looking at buying a new car, and he said, "Well, it has this great radio." I said, "I don't care. I would listen to podcasts and
it's got to have a
CDs.
USB."
That's right. It's got the USB. I'm good. Yeah. But it's how you can consume it. So I notice I read things differently on my tablet than I do in a book, versus listening to it. And sometimes I'll read the book and then listen to the Audible or the audio version of it, and I get something different out of it. Or if I'm listening to a lot of times podcasts and it's like I'm driving down the road and I'm like, oh, this is great information, I got to write it down. So I'll send it to myself on email, share it with myself, and then I'll write, tell myself a little note. I don't text while I'm driving, but I just say, hey, what minute or hour is at the podcast, and re-listen to that. And then when I'm at my computer, I can write it down in a journal or on my Evernote or whatever, just tidbits of information type of thing. So
yeah.
So, but
well,
yeah.
let's shift a little bit into another question. Give us some advice on how do you operate and organize a business successfully? At least in your opinion, what have you kind of been successful in?
Right away, and I think probably in real estate, the same as the type of my synthetic oil business, which is network marketing, multi-level marketing, whatever you want to call it. It's not a bad word anymore like it used to be. And I am full-time with that. I make a full-time income, full-time plus, I tell people, because, what full-time income in the U.S. is, about 50,000. So I make quite a bit more than that, but treating it like a business every single day. Real estate the same way. And I remember way back in the day trying to understand the tax thing, and I couldn't understand, like, what am I supposed to claim, not claim, and all that stuff, and getting a handle on that like right away. How do I get a handle on it? And most people are trying to do their taxes without a CPA and seeking out I'm not saying this place that's on the corner that's got the little guy standing out there. That's not a CPA, but finding a CPA that's willing to work with you and maybe mentor you on what to do. And then, of course, reading books about it. Tom Wheelwright's got a great book, Tax-Free Wealth. It tells you exactly how to do it. But getting a handle right up front on those taxes, keeping your business stuff separate from your personal, and then trying to figure out how many things that I do in my life that I could make part of my business, where I still get to have fun and do what I want to do, but it's a business instead of an expense that I don't get to utilize in the maximum or most efficient type of way. And that's what I see. Most people are not using the tools. And nowadays you don't have to do it on pen or paper. There's apps on your phone that track your mileage. There's that snap your receipts and all that stuff. So that's the number one thing. You get started today, say, I am in business today. Go get that separate debit checking account. You don't have to, you don't have to have a business account. Just get a separate checking account. And, I take a black marker and I write what that debit card is for, and I only use that for that business, and keep that separated. So that's, I think I see most people, because, most people don't quit their day job and then go right into entrepreneurship, right? They usually transition, and they'll go from working full-time then to and then doing their entrepreneur business, and then they'll go part-time, and eventually they can go full-time, like I'm sure you have. But you want to be able to where was I going with this? You want to set up like you're a business right away and tell yourself you're in business. Don't wait till it's like, I'm full-time now, and start doing these business activities. And that's not the way to do it. You want to treat it like a business right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Yeah, treating it like a business, making sure you're running it like a business. And and always thinking about that too, how can I run it more efficiently? Because to me, the goal is, on any business owner, the goal is, how can I eventually be profitable with this business and not be there every single day?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I need to, or if I want to go to Europe for 4 months, do I have to shut my business down?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then you've done a really good job at running it like a business. So,
yeah. I know where I was going with that. So if you've got a full-time job and you're making $50,000 a year, you're paying, $10,000 or $12,000 in income taxes. At the end of the year, you get a $5,000 check back or whatever, however you got your thing set up. but you paid $12,000. If I could get $12,000 back for business expenses, especially in the first couple of years, because there's always expenses to get a business running, it's the same as earning $12,000 in that business. Well, actually, you did earn that $12,000. So why not get it back? The government wants you to start a business. They give you these tax, they give you the tax code. It was 20 pages of what income is, and then 7,000 pages of exceptions to the tax code. Well, many of those tax code exceptions are for being in business. So take advantage of it. Everything that everybody says, any CPA, and don't try to find a CPA that's afraid to take things. Find one that is business entrepreneur friendly, because they're there for you to take advantage of, and I take full advantage of all those deductions that I'm allowed to.
Yeah, and I tell people, if like you're in real estate, find a accountant, a CPA that's actually doing taxes for a lot of people that have real estate, or better yet, even have real estate themselves. The same thing if you're running a network marketing. Do they actually do taxes for businesses, like you said? I mean, if they're just doing taxes, if they're the Liberty, like you said, the person on the side of the road holding up and bouncing around, they're not the person for you if you're running a business. So what's your vision? Where are you going from here?
I really struggle. I think you've mentioned Jim Rohn before on your thing. So I think you've listened to a little bit of Jim Rohn.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. So he talks about being ambitious and content.
Yeah.
He says if you can solve that, and so that's where I'm at right now. I'm approaching 50, pretty close. And I'm practicing on being ambitious and content. You get up there and you say, well, I've got enough money coming in. I don't really have to do anything if I don't want to, but I still do something every day. And then my goal is to keep that going. And the word retirement I don't have no plans to retire ever in my life. When, I want the checks to keep coming and I'm gone, long gone. So it's just finding things every day that's going to inspire me to get out there and help other people. And so that's when I say in my bio that, my goal is to help other people become entrepreneurs and financial freedom and all that stuff. And so my long-term goal is to build a network, as you will, of people that have that same vision, that can go out and just like you're doing, you're affecting the lives of, thousands of people, or, hundreds of thousands, how many people listen to this podcast. And that's more than yourself. That's more than what I am myself. It's because I'm providing that out there. And that's exactly where I'm wanting to be. The financial part of it, I make more money than my expenses. I don't have big aspirations of jets and all. I mean, some people, that's their thing. That's not my thing. My thing is to be on my 30 acres and enjoy my time with my wife and my family, my grandkids, and practice that and being ambitious and content at the same time.
Cool. I like that answer. I love it. Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. I don't need the big jet and all that kind of stuff, but I want to affect, thousands and millions of people in a positive way through my business and through, giving and that kind of stuff. So I love that answer for sure. Close to home. Well, I think, we're running out of time, but I want to ask you, you've already mentioned a ton of books. What's your favorite book? Business or real estate or, tax or insurance or politics, whatever.
I'm not get these books that are like huge, that take a long time to read. So I like little thin books. Sure. And one of my favorite books, and I recommend it to a lot of people because it just gets you in that mindset, is called The Go Giver by Bob Berg.
Okay.
The Go Giver. And it just gives you that mindset of, it's not about what I want. If I help enough people get what they want, then I automatically get what I want. So he puts it in story form. I like books that are in story form, that is not just dry reading. I like to have a little story with it. So that's one of my favorite books for people that are getting into this type of thing. And I guess that's probably one I'm going to tell you for today. So,
cool. The Go Giver.
The Go Giver. Yep. By Bob Berg. Yep.
All right. I haven't read that one. I'll have to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite parts about this show, is asking people their book recommendation, because it gives me something to look in and read.
Yeah. I just snap a photo of my nightstand, and there's like 15 of them on there, like they're in rotation, and then I got the ones that are on my tablet, and I'm with you. So
perfect. Last question: what's your definition of the secret of financial freedom?
So financial freedom, my definition is to have everything covered, your income, that you don't have to go out and work for. You don't have to trade time for money for, that all of your expenses and your giving and your savings is all covered without you having to trade time for money. That's financial freedom. So, and I know a lot of people that make a lot of money, but they don't have financial freedom because they're spending more than they're making. And I've always been of the fact that, hey, if I save a little bit today, tomorrow I'll have more, and I teach that money how to compound, and that money will have more money, and so that's what I focus on, is that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join me on the show, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day.
Yeah, I do appreciate it, Todd. Your podcast is phenomenal. I heard you on the Bigger Pockets interview, and I thought, this guy's got a great philosophy and is doing great things. And I'm here. I like supporting people that are putting a good message out. So I enjoy your podcast, and I look forward to having more interviews with people, and I'll definitely be sharing that for you. It's a great to be able to network. And you and I, Todd, we've never met ever. Right. I contacted you a couple of weeks ago telling you what a great thing is, and telling you what I did, and you let me come on this podcast. So that's I feel blessed for that to happen. Hey, as far as people, if they do want more information on the infinite banking Dynasty, becoming your own banker, you can go to my website, which is just dynastywealthpartners.com.
Okay.
And I do have the book Becoming Your Own Banker for sale on there. So, or you can you can Google it and find it anywhere. But the ones you get from me, will have, I'll send it directly to you. I'll sell those right online. So I just want to help people understand how that thing works a little bit better.
Okay, perfect. What was that again? Contact, how to get, say that one more time.
Dynastywealthpartners.com.
Dynastywealthpartners.com. They can get in touch with you directly through that.
That's my direct website. And then we can get you the book, Becoming Your Own Banker. And it's usually a 3 to 6 month process to somebody wrapping their mind around it. Even one of the guys, it's a PhD that works with us, Robert Murphy. He's part of the Infinite Banking Institute. He says it took me like 4 years to really wrap my mind around that. Well, this guy's a PhD. So hopefully it didn't take me that long, but it does take people a while to change that shift in thinking, because it's a little bit different than what we've been taught in the big, financial entertainers on the radio and TV and Wall Street and all that stuff. It's a mind shift. So you have to be prepared for that.
So do you stick with somebody, if they switch and they decide they want to start working with you, do you kind of stick with them and coach them through that? Is that part of it?
Yeah, it's a lifelong process. And I don't, I do it to, for the multi-generational, if we do this and get this implemented, people ask me, well, how do I how do I implement once I get it built up? Should I do this as a good investment or a bad investment or whatever? Because what I do is not an investment. It's not just low risk in that,
Sure.
but if most people that want to buy real estate, I'm going to put them in touch with the person that's an expert in real estate. I'm not an expert in real estate. I'm going to put them, hey, is this a good business choice? I don't know what's a good business choice for you, but let's run some numbers and find out, and I do have access to software that can help determine, hey, how do I implement this? And is it something that's going to be beneficial in the long run for my business? So
Perfect.
yeah, it's called Truth Concepts, and I've got access to that, and I can help people determine, and I can show factually, hey, it's better to take a loan from yourself than it is to, borrow from somewhere else. If you can borrow at 4.5% and your payback terms or whatever you want to make them, a whole lot better than doing it at 8 or 10% for a hard money loan. So
awesome. Well, check out Michael's webpage and say hi to him, and hopefully, I think a lot of people will find a lot of value in what you're doing. I definitely have a lot of interest.
Okay, good. And connect up with me on LinkedIn. I'm
Sure.
all over the web. So LinkedIn, Facebook, I'm on all those. So just Michael Sparks in Tennessee. But definitely look forward to connecting with everybody. So
okay. Thanks.
Todd.
Yep.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yeah, absolutely. To you too. Hey, I want to thank Michael Sparks for coming on this show and appreciate his insight and his knowledge that he brought to our podcast. So thanks a lot, Michael, for coming on. And I want to talk about 3 things that I took away from this podcast. First of all, don't take too long to implement something new, right? Make sure you're getting involved. Make sure you're actually taking the steps to become successful, to build that business, to implement things into your business. All too often, I hear people that are having a tough time getting started. They don't know how to buy that first property. They don't know how to take that first step in building their business. And so they hesitate and they struggle. And then a lot of times those types of people just never get started. And so you've got to figure out, how do you break from that mold? How do you actually get started? Because once you do your first deal, once you set up your business and start, making money, getting your first product sold or first product to the market, it all snowballs quickly from there. So it's about getting started. That first deal is the hardest, the second deal is the next hardest, the third deal is the next hardest. And once you get, at least in my mind, once you get 4, 5, 6 deals done, or several products sold, whatever that might be, you're going to start to feel that momentum carry you through, and they just continue to get easier. So make sure that you start and you don't wait too long to implement. Learn, be dangerous, and then go. The other thing is burning bridges. It's all too easy to burn bridges, have that big tough guy ego, think that you're somehow better than other people, and that you know it all. And I think that comes with age as well. Definitely, as I've gotten older, I realize I don't know all the answers, and I realize how valuable other people are as well. And I think when I was younger, I didn't see that. I wanted people just to get out of my way. I want to do it the way I want to do it because I'm smart and I can take care of it. But as you get older, you realize, yeah, you know what? I'm smart. I can take care of it. But I need people and I want people to be involved in what I'm doing. And I want to make sure that everybody that I encounter and am around at least has respect for me, right? And we might not always agree. I want to make sure I'm, assertive. I don't want to tiptoe around people, but at the same time, I want people to respect me and not have bad things to say because I'm doing bad things, right? So try not to burn those bridges. Try to let your ego just go to the wayside a little bit and make sure you're building relationships, right? Building relationships, building bridges is way better than burning those bridges. You're going to get a lot farther. and you're going to have a lot more fun as well. That's the other thing, is you're going to have a lot better attitude than if you're always, thinking about yourself. Okay. And then the other thing is, and this kind of goes along with building bridges, is help enough people get what they want, and you're going to eventually get what you want. You can be selfish and you can make an extra 20, maybe $50,000, maybe even $100,000 this year. Right. And that sounds enticing, but if you're not selfish and you help other people get what they want, eventually you're going to get what you want. I know you have to obviously take those steps, but if you're helping other people, enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And instead of just making $100,000 extra a year, you're going to end up making millions of dollars over the course of your career by doing that. So that's definitely important. So anyway, I appreciate Michael coming on the show, giving us these nuggets. And if you like our show, go on to iTunes, give us a rating and review. Tell us how we're doing. Go on to Facebook. We're doing the Hump Day Hustle. We're going to start answering questions. So if you've got questions that you want answered, send us a note on Facebook. If you want anything talked about, send us a note on Facebook. We're going to try to talk about as much as we can on those shows. And, share this out, put it on your Facebook feed and LinkedIn, whatever that may be. And again, I guess the first time, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Today is officially Christmas. So Merry Christmas. And if you're not a Christian, well, have a wonderful day. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you learned something. And again, make every day a Saturday.
Are you on track to achieve your financial goals? Income-producing real estate is the most historically proven way to accumulate wealth and has created more financial freedom than any other means. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best turnkey cash flow rental properties. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly income. Get your free strategy session with our knowledgeable investment counselors at noradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.